Hey guys, very warm welcome on this session with me, myself Venkatesh, who's working in the industry as a business analyst with leading industries from healthcare, insurance, banking, and e-commerce as well. And I've been working with India's fourth largest IT firm in order to complete and deliver the projects, working as a business analyst. So let's welcome you all who have subscribed to my channel and who has joined this session with me today. And I look forward to give you as much as possible practical information that I can give from this business analyst workshop. So let's begin. In this first chapter of introduction, we will understand a few things that understanding the business analysis role, understanding who's a business analyst, his roles and responsibilities while working in a project and getting it delivered with the highest possible standard. While we understand what are the different types of requirements, how to handle those requirements, and while handling the requirements, what should be the bond between you as a business analyst and your requirements, right? So that's what we will understand, and until then, we will be also understanding what is understanding the stakeholder, what are the role and responsibilities, and how important a role they are playing in the project execution. Also, we'll be understanding just as an overview for the IT companies, how is the structure, what are the different types of IT companies, just an overview. All right, so let's first understand what is a business analysis first. Before directly jumping onto the business analyst role, I would like to take you a step behind in order to understand what is a business analysis. So business analysis is a practice which enables change into the organization, right? By defining certain needs and recommending some possible solutions that would deliver value to the stakeholder. That's what the definition comes straight away, right? But let's break this down, this very well defined definition, into small pieces and understand what exactly this means. So business analysis is a practice, right? Or you can say a method or a way in order to bring change into the organization. Now, what that type of change would be? So that change has to be a positive change, right, in the organization. Would that be increasing the revenue? Would that be easing the life of business users while handling the data into the organization? It might be improvising the website visitors' journey on their website when they browse on your website. Maybe you want to engage them with live chatbot if they are not able to find any information on that. If they want to have some FAQ section, then you keep your FAQ section very dynamic that they will be able to find the information from, right? So such kind of improvisations when you get into your organization, would that be by deploying a new IT solution or a software, or would that be by improvising the existing processes which are there into the organization while performing any task or while performing any goal or any business operation? So you have to improvise that particular thing, and after doing that, it should bring certain change into the organization, and that change has to be positive change which would add value to the stakeholders, right? So whenever you bring some positive change into the organization by deploying any new IT system or improvising or upgrading the existing IT software, which would 100% help the existing business users in order to improvise their day-to-day business activities. So that is what nothing but you are delivering value to the stakeholder by any means. So when we do such kind of methodologies in order to bring the change, we have to first understand what is the current situation, what are the areas of improvement, how we can improve that particular situation by applying certain methods which have been defined in the business analysis practice. That point of time, it is considered as you are performing business analysis. And now, whosoever is a person performing the business analysis practices, which we will be discussing in future part of the course, that person would be considered as a business analyst in that organization who is performing the business analysis practices, right? So on the slide deck, you'll be able to find many of the practices which we have given, right from defining the processes to data analysis to interviewing the stakeholders, communicating and outlining the technical requirements. So these are few of that, right? And we will be discussing all these areas in coming part of the course. That point of time, you'll be able to understand how business analysis is processed, how business analysis is applied on the organizational fundamentals in order to bring the change. So that's what towards this particular business analyst's definition and the context. So now let's move on to the part understanding who is a business analyst, right? So basically, a business analyst is a person, right, who identifies and defines this possible solution, right, that would bring some change into the organization after implementation, or that would bring some change or value addition into the organization after improvising the existing processes, right, or defining some strategies. So how would we do that? So basically, a person who's performing a role of business analyst would act as a liaison between your client, that is your stakeholders, right, and your IT project team. So you as a business analyst, whenever you're working as a business analyst into the industry, you would be working as a mediator in between your client and your project team in order to bridge the gap for the business needs along with the IT solution. That's what your job is, right? So business analyst is always working as mediator in between a client and your project team in order to understand or bridge the gap between the business requirements as well as the technical needs. So I'll explain this by a quick diagrammatic representation over here and make you understand what is a fundamental or a base of a business analyst role. So let's take an example. I have prepared a quick diagrammatic representation over here in order to understand your business analyst role and couple of responsibilities and how this business analyst role is at a very base level in your daily activities when you're performing a business analyst role. So let's consider there is one IT company where you're already working as IT business analyst, which is called ABC IT Services Company. And this company is having one of their clients, Abby's e-commerce company. There is no real-time association with any of the existing companies. Wherever we are checking such kind of names, it is just for the explanation or education purpose. There is no association with any real-time entities or organizations. So that point of time, whenever you're working into the ABC IT services as a business analyst and you guys are delivering certain IT projects, maybe based on any of the framework, .NET, Java, or big data, machine learning, or any of the Power Platforms, right? So Abby's e-commerce company, let's say they are in the need of implementing a new software solution, possibly for any of the existing problems, right? So let's understand what is the problem for the Abby's e-commerce company. So Abby's e-commerce company is having a good customer base, but they have identified that they have one problem of delayed deliveries. Their customers are getting delayed deliveries after placing an order. And after digging into the problem, their stakeholders have identified it is taking more time in order to ship the products, right, to the right parties who have placed an order, because the order processing software is not that efficient, right? So what they are looking for is implementing an order processing software. All right. So they are willing to implement some order processing software. At that point of time, the people from the order management delivery or order management or delivery segment, those people would step forward in order to outline the existing problems. For example, somebody who's a delivery manager or somebody who's the delivery head or maybe shipping head, right? So those people would step out of that box in order to highlight their problem statements. But make sure how these guys would be telling their problems is basically these guys, they would be telling their problems in the business language, because these are business users. They're working with a client, right? They're not IT people, right? They're working for their business, so they know their business like anything. They're good in their own core competency. At the same time, they will be explaining their problem statements in the business language. So if anybody from the IT project team, usually the IT project team comprises of these people, your developers, testers, subject matter experts, consultants, project manager, and a business analyst. And there are certain roles which we will be coming to them when we learn further. Okay, but basically on a very fundamental or grassroots level, this is the usual structure of a IT project team. So at that point of time, who would be able to better understand their business problems? Are the developers? No, their core competency is write to code. Are the testers? No, their core competency is to break the system before it goes to the customer, right? SMEs, they are basically specialized in one of the areas. Consultants are always there in order to support you, guide you, to formulate the business objective or define a strategy along with the product that you're going to choose. And the project manager is responsible for execution of the project and planning and monitoring, right? So who's the person to understand their business requirements, right? And help build IT solution. So that's where we come across a title called as Business Analyst. So you as a business analyst, you have to step out of this box, right? And you have to bridge a gap between their business requirements or their business problems by implementing the possible IT solution which would overcome the existing business problems, right? So what are the roles and responsibilities while doing this particular activities? Interacting with the client is basically you have to step out of this box and you have to interview or communicate with the stakeholders every day or every another day or possibly twice a week. You can imagine or you can find a possible available window with your stakeholders to understand what are their business problems, right? And understand where exactly the areas of improvements are. So for that, you have to interview your stakeholders or you have to communicate with your stakeholders in order to understand the existing business problem, right? And once you understand the business problem, at the same time, while having the conversation, you have to ask wise questions, right? You have to ask wise questions in order to dig more or in order to penetrate more to understand the more problems or to get the root cause of that problem. While doing that, you might encounter with problem number 2, problem number 3, or problem number 4, right? Which you are just uncovering the hidden problems by having often interviews or often communication with your stakeholders in order to understand their own business and their business problems, right? While doing that, you will be also understanding what are the requirements. In order to fulfill their requirements, what are the things that their business rules, their operational SOPs, all those things you will be understanding as requirements, right? And then based on the problem statements, while understanding the requirements and uncovering the hidden problems, you have a bird's eye view of that particular business problem, right? So you should be able to recommend a possible solution. So while doing that, you should not be always discussing the recommended possible solution directly over to the clients, but it should be going along with a brainstorming session or a combined discussion session with your IT project team, and then you should be recommending a possible solution. What is a note over here, guys? You should not be recommending any solution directly to the client which is not realistic. All right, we will not be discussing any solution which is not realistic or which is not feasible in terms of time, technology, or resource availability or anything, right? So because we business analysts would be working with the client as a face of the company, and whatever we say yes to the client, it would be considered as yes. So do not say yes upfront when you are not sure of anything, right? If you are pretty much sure, you have a great experience in that particular domain, and you're sure this problem statement, whatever the problem that client has, that should be identified and overcome in this possible way by implementing a solution, then 100% go ahead and recommend that because you are the expert in that industry. But wherever you are not sure, please do not promise anything without checking with your IT project team. All right. So in that situation, wherever you are not sure of, please buy some time from the client for a day or two, go back to your project team, okay, and then discuss what is the problem statement and what would be the possible solution, and then phrase it in a better way and then present it to your client. Okay, so now let's understand. Here we have discussed one new term. I hope many of you are already aware about who are the stakeholders, but once again, for the people who are very new to the industry, stakeholders are the people who are representing that particular company or who are having certain influence on that project. So here the project is for implementing order processing software, right? So who's having the influence in order to build that software or procure the software are the people who are having great knowledge about the order deliveries or shipping deliveries or product deliveries segment, right? And those people are identified as a delivery manager and delivery head. So when you are dealing with these kind of people, in order to understand the requirements, problem statements, so that point of time, these people would be considered as a stakeholders. Pretty straightforward. So what is the next? So after having the frequent conversation for maybe a month or two, you understand the requirements, you uncover the hidden problems, and then you recommend a possible solution to your stakeholders. So while doing that, you have to draft the requirements, guys. Okay, so what you need to do, your main and business analyst core role or responsibility is to draft the requirements or define the requirements. I can even put it in a better way. It's like define the requirements, right? It is not always client is telling you, yeah, this is the problem, and you're just typing it. No, guys, it doesn't go that easy. It has to be in a two-way fashion, where you have to discover or define the requirements based around the problem statements, which would ultimately improvise the problem statement and solve that. Okay, so while having the interviews or communication every day or every week, you'll be able to understand what are the requirements and how we can possibly tackle the situation of that problem number 1, 2, and so on. Okay, so while doing that, you have to define the requirements. Okay, you have to document them basically. So while documenting the requirements, you would be preparing a couple of documents, which we will be getting familiar over this course in near future. I'll be sharing a couple of templates in the description of the course, not in this chapter, but in the future chapter, where we discuss types of documents or defining good requirements. So basically, at this moment, I'll tell you, business analysts are supposed to prepare 2 types of, or possibly more than that, type of documents. But basically, it is considered as business requirement document, which is called as BRD. Okay, or it can be considered as functional requirement document, that is FRD. Now, as per the industries, or as per the organization, or as per the work culture, these naming conventions would change. People may call it as, rather than business requirement document, people would consider it as a requirement understanding document, which is RUD, or people would call it as FRS, which is functional requirement specification, or people may go with the functional specification, right? The naming conventions would be different, but the whole idea would remain the same, as it's just a plain maths, like 2 + 2 is 4 everywhere. So although the naming conventions are getting changed, but the objective of that document should always be defining what is the client problem, and then the types of requirements and other things which you should include in that particular document. Okay, so there is a big template which I have prepared for you guys in order to give you a fair and clear understanding you can utilize in your real-time projects. Whenever you get into that chapter, you will be able to find the link to download that template of business requirement document with all the indexes in it. Okay, so here, you as a business analyst, what we were doing, we have stepped out of the box in order to bridge the gap between your IT project team and your client need. Okay, while understanding their problems and defining the possible solution. After understanding the requirement for 2 months or 1 month, we have defined requirements and prepared business requirement document. Right. So that point of time, what we need to do, we have to go back to the clients, back to the IT project team, in order to make them understand that what exactly the project that we are looking to build. Okay. So that point of time, you have to make your IT project team understand about the solution that you're going to develop, the IT software that we are going to develop, and what are the business problems from the client, right? So what you have to make these guys understand, and that's what nothing but we might have heard many of the times, is nothing but a KT session, right? A KT session is nothing but a knowledge transfer session, where we make understand these guys what are the requirements, what exactly the client is looking for. Okay, and there you would be defining these requirements. You'll be walking through these guys each piece of requirements. You'll be showcasing certain wireframes, you'll be showcasing certain diagrams from UML to these guys to make them understand what exactly is the requirement and how we are going to do that. Okay, so that point of time, that session is called as a knowledge transfer session. And once you have transferred all the knowledge, the developers would start developing the product. At that point of time, testers would also start testing the product. Okay, and everything goes as per the plan which have been defined by your project manager. Okay, and your SMEs and consultants are there in order to back you up with your blockers or any of the stoppers. At that point of time, the project gets started and it passes through certain milestones. So over the period of time, you as a business analyst, you are again responsible in order to tracking the requirement progress. Okay, so Tracking the requirement progress as in how the requirements are taking shape from the pen paper version, which was your draft version, to the actual solution. Okay, so you have to keep an eye whether it is getting correctly developed, whether it is getting correctly tested before you hand over to the e-commerce company. Of course, there are the testing scenarios would be tested. There are certain round of testing, different types of testing like smoke testing, then system testing, system integration testing, functional testing, and integration along with regression as well. So many testing could perform, but at the same time, you have to eyeball, you have to monitor how the requirements are getting shaped while they're getting developed. Okay. Also, your responsibility while you're working with your own project team is basically to support developers and your testers on their queries. Maybe they are having certain queries on some of the business rule. Maybe they are having certain queries on some of the functional requirement or non-functional requirement or any of that sort. So you have to be very clear in order to clarify their doubts, right? So that is the reason the very thumb rule is you as a business analyst while working with this client, you should be getting thorough knowledge about their business problem, and the requirements. Because if these guys, developers and QAs, they ask certain question and which you're not clear with, then that is not a good sign, right? Because now your delivery head or delivery manager, who are your stakeholders, now the stakeholders problem is on your shoulders. You are representing, right? You're just fighting as their champ in order to fix their problem by taking the help of your own team. So you have to be very clear, and you should be considering that problem statement is no more of your stakeholders problem, but it's your own problem statement. And when you do that, you would be able to efficiently handle the project and requirements. So once the project is developed, it has been tested, okay, at the end of each release, what exactly is the release will be coming into the agile concepts when we will be discussing that, or when we are following the waterfall method, again we will be discussing waterfall method. That is one of the SDLC methodology, which is software development lifecycle. In that, at the end of that particular SDLC method, if you're following waterfall, we have to facilitate the UAT. You as a business analyst, you have to facilitate UAT. What is facilitation of UAT? So it is user acceptance testing. So what is basically this in a nutshell? Whatever the client has agreed on the requirements, right, for this particular software, which is order processing software, those requirements, those functionalities would be tested from the business users of these stakeholders. Now, maybe the delivery manager, he himself will check that particular software, okay, or maybe the delivery executives or delivery officers would take charge and they will test software and the functionalities, whether it is meeting their business needs, whether it is aligned with their business problems, or whether it is aligned with their business processes. Okay, so when everything is okay, they will say yes, UAT is passed and we are good to move for the deployment in the production. So you as a business analyst, you are responsible for facilitating the UAT. Means you have to guide these business users for this functionality where you have to go, for this functionality where you have to go, where to find this particular feature, how to do this particular task. Okay, so because that is a new software which is getting developed, so you have to make these guys understand what exactly or how exactly you have to use this newly built or developed software. Okay, so that's what nothing but facilitating UAT. So this is just an overview about the business analysis roles and responsibilities, or how a day in a business analyst life would look like from this diagrammatic representation. Apart from that, I have a couple of roles and responsibilities for you, which are given over here. And I think majority of that we have already checked in that a day in a life business analyst diagrammatic representation. So major responsibilities is like you have to interact with the client. That's what is like client communication or stakeholder interviews. But then you have to take the ownership of the requirements and process re-engineering. What is process re-engineering? Is basically any existing processes there. Like you place an order, then order gets accepted by the restaurant, and then you have to go ahead with the order preparation, and it goes through certain steps, right? So that's what existing process. If you want to improvise the process, then you have to re-engineer it. Okay, then other responsibilities are gathering the requirements using elicitation techniques, which we will be checking what are the elicitation techniques in this course. Then you have to document the requirements, which we have checked in which documents you have to draft those requirements are business requirement document or FRD. Okay, then model the requirements, communicate the requirements with technical team. Modeling the requirements we will be learning in a separate chapter which is called as UML. Okay, then you have to track the requirements. Okay, then handle the change. Handling changes again we'll be discussing as a separate topic, and facilitate UAT. So these are the roles and responsibilities for business analyst while working in any of the IT project. So I hope with this you have understood what is the role of business analyst and what is business analysis in a nutshell. So further topics will continue in the next session, and I hope you got the understanding about the basics of business analyst role. Thank you. Let's meet in the next session, guys.